When former Red Sox pitcher Curt Schilling posted a controversial meme on Facebook a month ago, no one seemed to notice. But when they did, oh boy, the drumbeat began. Was it a fireable offense? The bosses at ESPN thought so. Well, judge for yourself. Here's the post. You've probably already seen it, so I don't have to read it. But what made matters worse was what he added. A man is a man no matter what they call themselves. I don't care what they are, who they sleep with. Men's room was designed for the penis. Women's, not so much. Now you need laws telling us differently? Pathetic.
He called this latest brouhaha beyond hilarious. He says that he was just commenting on the basic functionality of men's and women's restrooms.
But ESPN didn't find anything funny about it.
One of ESPN's most popular analysts is out of a job tonight after a post about the transgender bathroom issue on social media.
Schilling says he didn't think it was a political issue, firing back on his blog. The meme that some of you clowns and more of you spineless looking to be offended folks turned into something it was not. Okay then. I mean, clearly he has just talk about pathetic, just a tin ear on this. He just says, I mean, can you imagine picking up that post and forwarding it and putting your name on it, even if you had some reservations about the public accommodations bill? I mean, I can't imagine doing it. And I really feel like it was his reaction, almost more than anything, that got him in trouble. First of all, his reaction to the post, and secondly, his reaction on that blog, where he was really going after the media. And finally, in the end, ESPN is owned by, as we all know, ABC and Disney, and there's just no way that they could keep him. Personally, I mean, he's a sportscaster. He's not in the news business. They are in the opinion business themselves. That's what he does. He's an excellent commentator on. I have some reservations about what. Obviously, I was Bob Iger. I probably would fire him, but well, I think ESPN had no choice.
He's hurting the brand, exactly. Yeah. ESPN had no choice. I want to point to something I thought was absolutely fascinating about this, which was an interview that Steve Buckley of the Herald did with Schilling.
Yes.
Absolutely fascinating. And what was so interesting about it is that Curt Schilling came off as somebody who was not just doing damage control. He sounded like he's somebody who genuinely has some decent instincts and had no idea how he'd gotten into trouble over this.
He didn't know. He said, quote unquote, I didn't know it was political.
It made no sense. And yet you came away from this saying, well, okay, ESPN did the right thing, but there's some complicated non-thinking going on.
Yeah, well, if you read his blogs, you get a deeper understanding of the non-thinking.
It's also hard to look at this outside of the context of, this is not the first time that Curt Schilling has said something controversial or done something controversial with his video game company in Rhode Island. This was not the first offense. There is no constitutional right to talk about baseball on television, so I think it's well within ESPN's rights to do so. What I think the issue that ESPN has to deal with is that they have been wildly inconsistent in how they mete out punishment for what their employees say on social media. There are different standards for different people. In 2014, Keith Law, who's a baseball analyst, got into a public Twitter battle over whether evolution is real with Curt Schilling, and Keith Law was the one who was suspended, not Curt Schilling. He was the one saying evolution was real. ESPN really needs to figure out a consistent policy so that people in Bristol are not walking on edge all the time, not sure what's okay and what's not okay.
That's a good point.
I think what though puzzles me is what is in the brain of Curt Schilling
I don't know.
that he would find some reason to want to retweet, or that I never heard of Autumn Williams before until this whole controversy blew up. But you wonder, is there no filter that common sense would say to go through? He may be a very good father. His children have come to his defense, and I understand he's very protective and supportive of them. But I just think that ESPN looks at him as a potential train wreck every time he gets near his cell phone, I guess. So
well, he survived the Muslim thing because what he said was extreme Muslims. Right. He was comparing them to Nazis, and he was misquoted even in the papers today about that, where they said Muslims, and he said no, the key word being extreme. Right. I'm not defending him on it, but he was misquoted.
But the language he uses in his blog is just
it's
it's
slightly
less
moronic.
Kindergarten, yes.
Well, the situation is pattern and practice, and his pattern as practice has been whether he had extreme or not in front of Muslims, and now whether he didn't understand this was political or not, it is wildly offensive. And I think that before, to your point about the inconsistency of the meting out of the punishment, you know, these corporations decide, we like you, so we're going to not do something over here until it gets to the point where it hurts the brand and there can just be no turning away. I'm sorry if he doesn't get it, and I think he got more of a pass over before because he came out as a hero when he defended his daughter appropriately on social media. So I think they gave him more grace than they might have. But at this point, pattern and practice, that's the
Does
end of it.
anybody think somebody will hire him? I do.
Oh, I don't think so.
Set
It'll
for
take
Fox
a while.
Sports in a lot of ways.
Not immediately.
I didn't say
Someday.
immediately. Yeah.
Someday.